by TrueBeingVillage.com. You're here with Charliza Warner, and I'm interviewing First Lady Miss
Yamila Bell Gomez.
Yamila Bell Gomez. How are you doing? Would you like to introduce yourself?
I am the first Vice President of the High Desert Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority here in the desert. We've been charted since September of '06. Even though we are a national organization, we're 98 years old. We were founded on January 13th, many, many years ago, 98 years ago, so we're going to have our centennial on 2013.
Okay.
We were founded at Howard University by 22 African-American women to increase public awareness of social issues and services that were needed in the African-American community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm one of the chartering members of the High Desert Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority.
Okay, and how long have you been a part of the sorority?
I pledged in 1976 in San Francisco. I was attending the University of San Francisco at that time.
And your graduate degree is, you graduated?
I graduated from the University of San Francisco with a degree in government and public administration.
Wow. Wow, that's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, how long have you been living in the high desert?
My family moved here in 1966. My father was stationed at George Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
So my family has been here since 1966, even though I haven't been here the entire time. When I graduated from Victor Valley High School in 1973, I had a 4-year academic scholarship to go to the University of San Francisco, so I immediately left.
Well, what's the biggest difference you see so far in the high desert communities?
Well, from 1966 to now, I'd have to say the population has grown from a total population of all the communities, Victorville, Apple Valley, Hesperia, Adelanto, it was maybe 50,000 people in 1966, and now I understand it's about 500,000.
Wow.
So it's a tremendous difference in the amount of people that are up here.
Yeah, most definitely. So,
Do you want to know a little bit more about what it was like in 1966?
most definitely. I'm sorry, I just got it.
Well, in 1966, there were still some racial issues going on here, especially in Apple Valley. A friend that I grew up with, who's still my best friend today, from the Lyons family, were one of the first black families in Apple Valley, and it was commonplace to have a cross burned in their front yard every night. She said the routine was the cross would get burned about 8, 9 o'clock. They were usually sitting there watching TV. Her dad would get up, take a shotgun, go outside, shoot the shotgun off, then they'd run off, they'd put the fire out. Then in the morning they'd see what kind of damage was done, clear it off, and get ready for it to happen again the next night.
Wow, and this happened in our community.
Yes, this was Apple Valley. This was Apple Valley in 1966, and they had been here since 1964, so they've been having problems all along that time.
So do you think the racism has changed any since 1964? Or?
Well, I'm sure it's changed some. I was pretty sheltered living on the Air Force Base until around 1970 when we moved off base. But there were always some infighting between, you had the white kids, you had the black kids, and you had the Mexican kids. And it was as commonplace every September and every May there was going to be some kind of a fight. And you could never tell who was going to be against who. It could be black and white against Mexican or Mexican and black against white. You never knew. You never knew what it was going to be like. But that was pretty commonplace back then. And also you have to understand is even organizations such as the PTA was segregated until 1970. So even going to school up here, there was no active PTA with everybody involved until after 1970.
Wow.
So it was quite a difference.
This has been a lot of history going on in the high desert I had no idea about. It's very, very interesting to know. So, what do you think about education in the high desert compared to other cities or other towns local to it, compared to Los Angeles County or other Palmdale? What do you think about our educational system?
Being a teacher myself, I have to say that I am concerned about the racial disparity between student and teacher. I recently submitted a report to our supervisor, Brad Mitzelfeld, on January 25th. We had Delta Days in San Bernardino County, and a number of my sorority sisters from the Riverside San Bernardino chapter, the Pomona Valley chapter, and from our chapter up here, we go down to San Bernardino and we meet with all the county supervisors. And in our meeting with Brad Mitzelfeld, I expressed that I was concerned about this. I pulled up some information off the internet, which is public information from the county, that stated proportionally the difference between the ethnic breakdown of students, Latinos, blacks, Native Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, Asian, and white, and how many teachers are African American, Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, etc. And there is a tremendous disparity between the amount of minority teachers that are up here. And when I asked him for information on this, in other words, what can we do about this? What can we do about the disparity? Because in my position as a former teacher, I understand how important it is to have minority role models for students. I believe that, and it has been statistically proven, that when you have minority role models for students in their institutions where they're going to school, you have a lower dropout rate. And that's what concerns me. I would like to see a much lower dropout rate between our black and Latino students up here in the high desert, particularly. And Mr. Mitzelfeld said that what we can do is we have to go through each individual school district and let them know that there is a disparity, even though it is public knowledge. It depends on the superintendent, it depends on the school board, and it depends on what their hiring policies are. Unfortunately, most districts here in California go outside of the state to hire instead of hiring within the state.
Or within the community.
Or within the community, correct. You know, we don't need them going to Iowa and Ohio to hire teachers when there are plenty of qualified minority teachers right here in California and right here in the community that they could hire. And so that's my feeling about education up here.
It's very, very interesting feeling. So when you bring up the issue about role models, I notice out here in the high desert, we our lack of radio stations, community TV stations, and other things that help us get information from our communities are at a lack up here in the high desert. What do you think or suggest that we can do to change to get these medias more down to our level? As in LA or other counties, they have specific channels to let them know about what's going on in the community. I feel that out here, our radio stations don't really are not really based upon the things that we are doing in our community.
Well, when you have corporations having monopolies on the media industry, I believe there are 5 major corporations that own all media across the country. You have certain times of the day when they only pull in feed from national feeds and not local feeds. And I think part of the problem is the FCC has allowed too many companies to buy up smaller ones. And unfortunately, those smaller ones are local media outlets, be it the radio, be it television. And these small media outlets have been pushed to the wayside, which are the ones that give us the community information that we need. So to make a long story short, I think the best thing would be if independent people or conglomerates or groups of organizations could purchase a radio station or purchase TV time and use it strictly for the community instead of utilizing Clear Channel or Charter, the large major ones that really don't care about what's going on locally. They only care about what's going on nationally. But it's been a breakdown in the monopolistic laws that we were supposed to have had implemented so that companies cannot constantly buy out each other.
Yeah.
And then they just get bigger and bigger, and then smaller community organizations and facilities for radio and television are just knocked down, and you don't have the voice. Even the daily press, I understand, has let go of a number of reporters, so you have to submit your own stories. If you want them to show what you're doing in the community,